Hi guys, my name's Heather and I'm currently travelling in Australia with my partner Alex. We've now been here for 1 year, so I thought it would be a good idea to do a couple of videos to give you guys an idea of what it's like to come travelling to Australia if that's something you are thinking about. This video is going to be based on preparing yourself for Australia, so before you even get on that flight, this video is going to give you an idea of all the things that you need to do before you even think about leaving. So if that's something you are interested in doing, if you are thinking about coming travelling, then definitely give this video a watch. It might give you a helping hand, and I really hope you enjoy this video. Thank you. Okay, firstly is considering where you want to travel. So obviously the world is your oyster and you can travel wherever you want to do. I chose Australia just because I saw loads of pictures of it and it just looked amazing. Also, my dad used to live in Australia, so I think that prompted me to want to travel to Australia. And how much further can I go in the world away from England, which is obviously my hometown. Okay, so once deciding to travel to Australia, it was a case of persuading my partner Alex to travel to Australia as well. So before I met Alex, I had always wanted to go travelling to Australia. Originally, I was wanting to go travelling with my brother, but then he got a girlfriend and that didn't quite work out. So that's totally fine, it's not a problem. But then I was like, I'm going to go travelling on my own. But I just took so long in doing it, and then obviously I met my partner Alex, and me and him, it took me a while to persuade him to come travelling. It took me almost a year, but eventually I did persuade him, and that was great. If you do decide to travel Australia with someone else and not by yourself, make sure you're choosing someone to travel with that you trust. So not just a friend that you've met last week. Make sure you know them, you trust them, especially if you're doing the full year visa, because you will rely on them people, especially in hostels when you're traveling. So make sure you know them, make sure you trust them, and you're comfortable and confident around them, because you are going to be spending a lot of time with that person. So once the persuasion was finally done and I'd shown him so many pictures and videos of Australia, and he eventually clicked and just said yes, let's go, it was a case then of booking our visas. So the first thing I did was book the visas, because you don't want to book flights just in case your visas don't get accepted, or they just take a little too long to get accepted. So they usually take, they say, between like 1 and 20 days, and then obviously if they're looking into it, it can take 20 to 50 days. So me and Alex sat down on a Sunday morning, I think it was in February, and we completed our application forms on the government website. So I will not stress enough, make sure you are booking your visas on the government website. There are a lot of websites out there that say that you can book your visas. They are not legitimate and they will take your money from you. So make sure you're going on the australia.gov website or the visa.gov websites. The visas cost around £260 each, I'm sure. I know they cost around $450 in Australian money, so I think that equates to about £260, correct me if I'm wrong. And they don't take long. They took about 15 minutes to complete. All you really need is your passport and your bank account to pay for the visas, but they don't take long at all. Once you have completed the visa form application, you will get an email to say that your application has been submitted. Alex received his visa confirmation within 10 minutes of being accepted, but mine took a little bit longer. I think mine took about 3 days. So I waited 3 days, and then I just got an email, clicked on the email, and it said your visa application has been granted. Once your visa has been granted, it is now time to book your flight to Australia. So you have to sit down and decide a date that you want to go to Australia, obviously, before you book the flight. So me and Alex chose the date of the 31st of August. So it was just after the winter season, but a little bit just before the summer, just to get us prepared for when we arrive in Australia. So we had decided that we want to arrive in Melbourne in Australia. We were actually advised that by quite a few people that we should go to Melbourne because it is very hippie, very backpackery, which I completely agree with. Melbourne is a great place to start. However, I do know a lot of people that have started in Perth and then they flew over or drove all the way over to the East Coast. Alternatively, you can start up in Cairns and work your way down. However, we started in Melbourne and we're working our way up. So once you have decided where you want to go and the date, it is then time to book your flight. When booking your flights, make sure you do shop around, have a little look to see what is available on the market for you. So me and Alex chose to go with Virgin Australia, who actually put us on to Etihad. We were very, very fortunate because we were put onto the Etihad A380 flight, which is their newer plane, and it's a lot bigger. The leg space was perfect. Our flights cost us, I think, £517.97, and that was each, and we did book one-way flights, so we did not book a return flight, and I'll explain a little bit further about why and reasons behind that. However, we decided to fly with Etihad, stopping in Abu Dhabi. It was a great flight, and flying with Etihad was fantastic. However, the one thing, if I can make any changes to flying to Australia, I would say go for a flight that has the longer flight beforehand and the shorter part of the journey after. So the first part of our journey was 7 hours and 20 minutes. Then the second part of the journey from Abu Dhabi to Melbourne was 13 hours and 45 minutes. So if you do have the opportunity to book a flight where you get the longer part of the journey first and then the shorter part second, I would 100% go ahead with it. But don't worry if not, if it works out more price sensible that you take a journey, so for example with Etihad, and you fly to Abu Dhabi like we did, then that's fine. So again, our flights cost us around £520, and that was a one-way journey each. So once you've got your flights booked, I would advise you get insurance. Again, I would stress you get insurance. The reason being is I've met so many backpackers along the way that haven't got an insurance for themselves when they left, and they've got themselves into very, very sticky situations. You make one mistake, you have to go to hospital. The bill you have to foot is unbelievable. So we decided to go with a company called True Traveller. This is not sponsored by anyone, by the way. I'm just giving you ideas on who we decided and what's on the market. Now, if you do get your insurance and you have got a one-way flight, you are very limited. A lot of insurance companies will not accept you. You have to have a flight home or proof that you have to be back in your own home country of a date so they can book you, so you can get your insurance. So you have to have a reason of coming home. Now, because me and Alex, we wanted to do our first year and hoping to get our second year granted, we didn't book a return flight, and lots of insurance companies wouldn't accept us. We had to have a return flight home. So we were limited to 3, I think. But the one that we decided to go with was a company called True Traveller. So the reason we decided to go for True Traveller is because they had better reviews, they could offer us more for our money, and they could also offer the farm work as part of the insurance. So our insurance cost us, between us both, I think it was £583.18, and again that was combined, that was for the both of us, and that was for 366 days of insurance, and that was open return. So we did not need a flight home, we could book with them, and that was again with True Traveller. It does sound like a lot, but don't forget that is for both of us. So we did pay for the excess on the insurance, and we did add an adventure pack which gave us our farm work. So if you are thinking about completing your second year visa, obviously you will need to do farm work. I would advise going for an adventure pack that does have the farm work included, just in case you end up on a farm that doesn't have their own insurance. So once all the more important stuff is out the way, so your flights are booked, your insurance is paid for and sorted, and your visa is paid for and sorted as well, it's time for the fun stuff. So you can go about it however you want to go. You can go shopping and start buying your clothes, however you want to do, but me and Alex decided that we wanted to plan our route around Australia. Now, we haven't actually gone ahead with lots of what we're planning, but it did give us a good idea on where we wanted to go. So what we did is we ordered on Amazon a big map that was laminated of Australia, and also ordered some ball marker pens. I'll put a picture right here. And we planned out our route in Australia. We wrote keys of stuff that we needed, and it just gave us a bit of excitement. It just gave us that push that we needed to get us excited and ready for Australia. Once you've got an idea of where you want to go to Australia, it's now time to save money. Now that can be a very challenging time for especially a youngster. Now, lucky enough, I'm quite good with money, but Alex was very, very spend. He loves cars, he likes buying stuff for his car, so you have to put your foot down, unfortunately, and understand that you are doing something that potentially you may only do once in your lifetime, and you need to go all out, save as much money as you can. Now, the rules are on the visa website, on the government website for Australia, is that you need to have at least $1,000 in your bank account to enter Australia. So it doesn't matter how much you save. We were advised actually before we came to Australia to save around $1,000 a week each. Now, that seemed like a lot at the time, but I completely agree with it. Australia is very, very expensive, especially if you're a smoker or you drink alcohol. It's very, very expensive. Food is also expensive too. However, there are Aldi's around, which are very, very cheap shops, and you can also get some great deals in Woolworths and Coles. So now you've saved up all this money, how do you get it to Australia, and what's the most money saving way to do so? So me and Alex went to Thompson, Thomas Cook, post office. We went to as many travel places as we could to get a quote on different travel cards and what was the best exchange rate they could offer. We went ahead with a Thompson travel card at the time. I can't remember the exact exchange rate, but it wasn't very good. I think it was around 1.54. I'm not too sure, I might be corrected at this later. I know that it has gone up to like 1.74 now, so it's a lot better. So we had our travel card. We only put a small amount of money on our travel cards initially. So that was just to get us to Australia, to book our first couple of nights in the hostels, get some food and drink and whatever. Once we arrived in Australia, we went to Commonwealth Bank. There are also many other banks. We just decided Commonwealth. It was between Commonwealth and ANZ Bank, but we decided Commonwealth just because of what they could offer us at the time. We'd set up bank accounts. Me and Alex have actually got a joint bank account. It is completely up to you. A lot of people advise us against getting joint bank accounts just because if anything did happen when we were traveling, which I completely understand, it just however you're comfortable. However, me and Alex were we knew what we wanted to do, was sensible, and we discussed about getting a joint bank account and the outcomes of it. So we went ahead and got our joint bank account. Now we still had a large majority of our money still in our English bank accounts, and we contacted our banks to get an exchange rate of pushing it over to our Australian bank account. However, it was not good at all, and it just seemed like too much stress to put it on the travel card and then put it over to our Australian bank account because it would have to go for a lot of security. So what we decided to use was an app called TransferWise. Again, this is not sponsored for TransferWise. It is just something that we use that I think that you could use when you go traveling. They offered us the absolute best exchange rate that I've seen, and they still do. So TransferWise is a saving grace. So we set up a TransferWise account, we got the app, and we just transferred all the money across. Depending on how much money it is, you may have to go through a security where you have to provide proof of address, etc., which is absolutely fine as long as you can provide those details. We just got our parents to send out some pictures of stuff that we received in our post just to show the proof of address. But once that was accepted, it was very, very easy to transfer money from our English bank accounts over to our Australian bank accounts, and it's still valid now. So the app stays open and you can still then transfer money from one account to the other as easy as possible. It's a click of one button. Now that is all that I have at the moment to advise you guys of preparing to travel Australia. I will be bringing up another video in a couple of days of living in Australia and homesickness and how to get over that. I will also be giving you some videos on budgeting. That is a #1 thing. There are some tricks of the trade that I've learned, and other people have learned that they've given me ideas, so I will share them with you guys. So budgeting when backpacking. I will also tell you guys about farm work. There are a few good places that we've done our farm work or that I've been advised of. I'll also give you guys some hacks and tricks that we've learned along the ways, and I'll also show you guys around the place that we're living in, which is Noosa. I'd love to take you guys out and explore with you.